Hi, it's Elena of Financialdemics, where we talk about all things personal finance, but we just love to really focus on the foundation because that's going to help you in building the other levels that you need to reach. So I like to talk about budgeting, saving, paying off debt, and increasing your income. And sometimes I throw in a little taxes and retirement too. So based off my video about my paycheck budgeting and how I do it, my thought process behind it, you all did mention that you wanted to see what happened in the end, how do my actuals turn out. And so I'm going to show you what I do when it comes to the end of the 2-week period before I get paid again. I sit down, I look at my budget. Sometimes it's a day or two after I get paid or on the day of, but I do sit down, look at my budget, see what type of adjustments I need to make for the month. So I've already put the numbers in, but I'll talk about my thought processes, what I did, where I need to make some adjustments at. Okay, so now looking at my first paycheck of the month, I actually got paid on the 13th of January. So I operate with a starting balance because there's some things that we just need to keep private. So I actually started with $2,350 that I'm actually going to manage these bills and some spending with. Before I do anything else, I make sure money goes to savings, because if it is in the account too long, and I have this normally set automatically to transfer, it might not get there, and you have to know who you are as a person. So that happened. My money also automatically went to my trading account. I only put in $100 a month in my trading account, so it was only $50 from this paycheck, because typically I get paid bi-weekly. And so I went ahead and put a total of $285 towards savings and investing. Now, let's talk about the bills. So as mentioned in that video, my bills have their own account. I have a bill account. That makes life easier for me, because whatever is left over, once all the money goes where it needs to go, then I know those bills are taken care of and I can spend whatever I've allocated. So typically, I don't have much of variance in the bills account, only if I'm a little off or some things have changed or I keep forgetting about maybe like a new bill. So let's look over here. So I split my rent in half. The amount that I contribute towards rent, I split that in half every single month, because I don't like being in the beginning of the month getting paid and having less money until I get paid again. I've just never liked that idea. So ever since I moved out on my own, I've always set it up where I'm able to split my rent in half, and each time I get paid, I would put more money towards rent so that I can manage my cash flow a little bit better. So I put the $752.02 towards rent. My life insurance is $20.13. This is a term life policy. It's a 30-year term. I've had it since my 20s, so it's fairly cheap. And term life is just cheaper in general. So it's $20, and we don't even think about it. My gym was $26.11. AAA is $21.43. And Apple was actually, I budgeted $35, and I told you all that Apple One went up. Now I have Apple One, but then I also have one of the people on my family plan has an extra subscription that they give me money for every month. Well, they give it to me for the year, but it goes towards every month. So it's an extra $2.17. So with the taxes on everything, it ended up being $35.37. So now I know what that looks like tax wise. I could have computed it, but I just make a educated guess and then adjust. So it's $35.37 for our monthly Apple expenses. And my Apple One is, I think it's like $32.99, and that's because we have a family plan, and we have like, it's us as the parents, me and my husband, but then also the kids, and then also my brother. So then HP, I have HP Inc., which is basically a subscription service for the ink that goes into your computer, into your printer. I personally like this better than actually buying ink because it just shows up to my door when I need it. They monitor it. And so monthly that cost is $6.52. And I actually budgeted $6.62. I don't know how I did that because when I went back to my actual monthly budget, it was $6.52. So I guess it was just, I hit the wrong key. So it was 10 cents cheaper than what I budgeted. And then Compassion, this is a child in need that I contribute to. It was $45. I contributed the $45. So in total for this particular paycheck, my first paycheck of January, I actually spent, well, I budgeted $906.31, but I spent $906.58. So now let's look at my variable spending, and let's just move this over a little. All right, in my sinking funds. So food is part of my variable spending. Food is always a little bit of a struggle for us, especially now with the prices going up. Right now everybody's in college. So this is just our household that we're budgeting for on here, but we eat fairly healthy. So but also it's more expensive because we try to eat more so organic, hormone free, raised on this type of farm, blah, 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 blah. So stay on the outside of the store if that's something you're working on, like, because the processed foods are on the inside, the healthier foods are on the outside, if you didn't know that tip. And so I budgeted $150 for food. I actually spent in that 2-week period, I spent $110.15. And funny enough, like, I was like, oh my goodness, like when I was totaling up how much I was spending on food, I thought it was going to be a little higher because I literally could tell the difference. But this is still higher than what I would prefer. I have been budgeting higher for food because food is more expensive. Like, I had to break down and buy eggs and I was not happy. And my husband even came home and was like, normally we get our eggs for like BJ's. And like I said, we get the hormone free, blah, 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 farm raised eggs. And my husband was like, yo, you're going to have to get eggs from Aldi. Which I love Aldi. But he's like, you're going to have to get eggs from Aldi because that price at BJ's. And when he told me the price, so I had to break down buy eggs at Aldi, and I was not happy about the price. I've never spent $4 for some eggs. So, and that's low. So not happy about it, but we spent $110.15. So that's how we're going right now. And that's how it's going to be. For the kid is a sinking fund. In our situation, for my actual son, I have a kid sinking fund for him because things always come up. So $150 goes into the sinking fund every single pay period. There's a little extra that I set aside in a separate sinking fund. I just don't report on here, but $150 a month into the sinking fund. Then for personal, this is like my personal spending. I can spend on whatever I want. So I budgeted $100. I actually went over because it's $200 for the month. I did $100 for the 2-week period, and I actually spent $119.75. There were a couple of things that came up that they weren't really for me. But I didn't want to put them in miscellaneous, so I just kind of ate the cost of them and didn't like buy something else for myself. So hence, that's why we're over. And then there was just a couple of things, like I had to pay for shipping a couple packages to my son, and those were not cheap. Okay, the post office is not even really that cheap anymore, y'all. So it just took me over. So for the second paycheck of the month, I will be adjusting down my personal spending. So instead of being able to have like $100 to spend, I will be spending around like $80 just to adjust for that on that particular paycheck. And then gas, again, I'm not driving my car at the moment. Somebody else is driving it. So it's $0. But that's about to change, unfortunately. So I will have to start putting gas in my car again. So, and then I actually had a sinking fund I was putting it in. So I do have a little bit of gas money in there. It's not a little bit, but it's a little bit compared to what gas prices are looking at. So I'll probably just be pulling for there initially, and then you'll see gas. I actually think I budgeted for gas for February. So when you see the video for the February budget, you'll probably see gas in there. And then miscellaneous, we just kept that at 0. And so if we look at my totals, I had budgeted $400 for sinking funds and variable expenses. I spent $379.90, and that's only because I saved some money on groceries. But the reality is, like, I can't say, oh, I have this extra money, because we still had the second half of the month. And so that money is kind of just set aside for groceries for the second half of the month. And if at the end of the month we end up where we are lower on groceries, then I will just probably continue to roll that money over for now in the grocery budget, just because groceries are so high. All right, and the last part in looking at my first paycheck of the month was the debt piece. So definitely pay the car note of $250. So the car note, this is my son's car, is actually lower. But I paid $250. That's how much I always said I was gonna pay. So I pay over the amount that is due every month. And then on my Apple bill, there is a small debt of $22.04 that gets charged every month for a gift I purchased, because it's 0 interest. So it's just like I'm cash flowing it, basically. So paid the $22.04. And then my debt snowball was $486.65. So I did set aside, I have an account that I put my debt snowball in until the end of the month. I set aside the $486.65. I mentioned in the last video that I was going back and forth about using debt snowball for some medical bills that are coming. I haven't received any medical bills yet for the incident that happened in November. If you don't know about it, then you got to check out my goals video. I talk more about it there. I haven't seen any of those, but I did get a medical bill for a specialist visit in August, and they charged the wrong insurance. So initially I didn't realize they charged the wrong insurance. So I was going to almost use my debt snowball to put towards that medical bill. But then once I realized they charged the wrong insurance, I submitted the insurance claim again, or I submitted our new insurance to them. And so I'm not going to worry about it for now. So that money is sitting over there, and hopefully nothing else happens where I need to touch that money. So for debt, we ended up where it was budgeted to be $758.69, and for now we spent $758.69. If I scroll up here, let's talk about my spending. So I have about 38.9% going towards bills for this particular paycheck. Savings is 12.2%. So that's savings and investing, but that's just based off of what we're showing here. Expenses is 16.3%, and then debt is 32.6%. And mostly because I'm trying to pay off my son's car quicker than the term that it's set for, because who wants to pay for that? But the reality is I do need to pay it off quickly, because I need to start putting money again towards my own car, because I probably will need a car in like a year or two. So that's how I spent. I did pretty good with my budgeted versus actuals. Everything looks pretty good. And it looks pretty good this month or this 2-week period, because nothing big has happened yet in this 2-week period. And I'm actually recording this after like I got paid again. So hopefully nothing happens in that next 2-week period of bills that we put aside. I really don't expect anything to happen, but we'll see. You know, things happen. That's life. And looking at my numbers here, right, we always want to be zero base. So it was budgeted to be zero base, but let's look at our actuals. I actually have like $19.83 left to spend based off the total numbers here. Truthfully, a lot of that has to do with I went a little over in bills category, but that's okay. I also went a little over in my personal, but we're going to adjust on the second pay period. And that's why I like paycheck budgeting, because you kind of get a check-in of where you are for the month and you just adjust. And so I'm adjusting so that overall for the month we can come out hopefully being on budget. And then groceries was actually a little cheaper than I personally expected to spend. I also should mention for groceries, this is just what I'm contributing for groceries. My husband contributes his own amount and does shopping for the household also. And so, you know, I just typically, I think I track it more on my side. And I do try to track it for both of us. He does pass me receipts, but some receipts I don't get. So you know how that goes. So, but this is just kind of like what I budget to contribute to the household. So overall, I think I did pretty good for January, just because January is such an unknown for us as far as like I said, we have medical bills we're expecting to come in. Our car situation is changing very soon. Not on my end, but it is going to change. And so we have like a few things going on, a few changes going on. So things are going to change numbers wise. So it's pretty good. We're just going to adjust for the second half, that second paycheck of the month, to make sure that, you know, we don't go over. And even if we do go over, it's okay. So if you went over on your budget, it's okay. Sometimes it happens. Like we can't plan the future. Like we don't know the future. So you just have to make adjustments as it goes. And so that's what we're doing here. And I will say, it's easier for me to kind of adjust right now because I've been doing this for a while and my numbers for the most part stay consistent. But as I have mentioned, and I mentioned it in my January budget video, like so many things happens unexpectedly. Well, I can't say that word. So many things happen unexpectedly, and I just adjust when it does happen, and so you should do the same. So if you enjoyed this video, definitely give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed and you watched it this far, I mean, just go ahead and subscribe. Join the family. We would love to have you. And if you are looking for a way to get a month ahead, because as you can see, my first paycheck of the month actually goes towards, or I set aside for the second half of the month bills. And that's actually, I'm putting money aside now for February bills. Then check out the video that I'm going to put right here. And I will see you next time with an all new video.